How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm John Bianchi, the Airbnb data guy, and I am constantly analyzing data to try and figure out how to make more money from these Airbnbs, right? That's literally what I do all day, every day. I call myself the Airbnb data guy, but when I'm reviewing all of this data, I'm essentially just trying to figure out, how do I make more money? How do I get the investment fund that I work for to make more money? How do I get my friends' Airbnbs to make more money? And then how can I take all of that information and teach you guys how you can go about making more money, right? And so in this video, what I want to be able to do is teach you a way to take maybe an Airbnb listing that's not performing well, right? Underperforming, just not hitting the numbers that you want, and figure out a way to invest a little bit more into it in the most strategic way possible. Additionally, I'm also going to show you a new service that I came out with, which is a done for you service. So I'm going to teach you it, and then I'm going to show you what I can do for you. All right. So let's get into it. Oh, and I actually want to go through a whole bunch of Airbnbs that I absolutely love. I think they're almost perfect Airbnbs, and I want to just show you why they're so good and what they're doing that is so good. And then you can take all these little ideas and then test it out yourself, right? But let's get into the process that I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about that service as well. All right, every Airbnb has a set amount of expenses, and this is really important to be able to figure out how to increase your profit. This is honestly something I've talked about quite a bit, but if you can understand this simple concept, it'll make you want to invest more into your Airbnb, into the amenities, into the photos, into the design. So let me explain this concept, all right? Every single Airbnb has a set amount of expenses for the most part. In other words, you have a set amount that you pay towards your mortgage, that you pay towards your TV bill, your internet bill. A lot of these bills, you're paying that set dollar amount throughout the entire year, no matter what. The only ones that really vary are kind of your utility, and your maintenance, and maybe your cleaning, but not that much, right? You're generally going to get the same amount of guests throughout the entire year. And so what you want to try and do is, because you have these set amount expenses, you want to try and make as much as you possibly can above that set amount of expenses. The higher you can get that number, the more money you end up making. But the trick is, how do you get the number higher, right? And that's what I do for a living. That's literally all I do, is try and figure that out, right? So let me show you this quick little example here, right? We got two different scenarios. In scenario one, you make $120,000 a year, and your set expenses is about $100,000, right? Which means your net profit works out to be $19,812. Let's call it $20,000, right? Scenario two, you figured out a way to add more value to your property, and you added either more amenities or better photos, or were able to attract people at a higher nightly rate. That's the whole trick. You got to get people to pay a little bit more to want to stay at your place. And if you can do that, your set expenses should not change, right? Nothing should change with that, because all you've done is just make your place more valuable by increasing the nightly rate. And when you do that, your profit nearly doubles. So you go from $20,000 to $40,000 in profit. Your revenue only increased by 16.67%. However, your profit went up 100%. I love this so much, because in scenario one, most people are happy with scenario one, and they think to themselves, I need to go get another Airbnb so I can get another $20,000 of cash flow into my life, right? However, you could take $10,000, $20,000, throw it at the property that you already have strategically, which I'm going to walk you through, and increase your nightly rate so that you can directly increase your profits as much as possible. And that's what is so intriguing and what I want to show you during this call. By the way, guys, if you're loving this, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it more than anything. Comment as well if you like it. This helps me so much. I want to grow this channel. I want to get more people to know that this information is out here for free. I have 3 free courses. Everybody should know about this stuff, right? Please like, subscribe, share, do what you got to do. I appreciate you. Now, before I explain this process to you of how to figure out how to increase your revenue, I want to give you some examples of really great properties that I have added to my wish list, because I like to keep track of this stuff. And I want to show you what I think they're doing really well and what's helping them boost their revenue. This is the first one that I'm going to go through, because it's the most practical that the most people can do. It's very similar to a lot of people's properties, right? However, there's some other examples here that I want to get into as well, that are all properties that are absolutely crushing it within their market, okay? Now, this one here, which is the one I want to go through, it's a fairly simple home. Honestly, it's fairly simple. The design's good. The photos are great. It's not a cabin. There's nothing crazy about it. They did add in these really nice features here, so I thought this was really well put together. But what I believe is actually driving a lot of the revenue for this property is they took their garage and they turned it into an immersive game room. I refer to this as a full room. So every single last little piece of this room is covered in entertainment, right? No matter where you look, it feels like you're consumed by this game room and the style that they wanted to get there. And so they took a garage, they converted it into this game room, and honestly, it's not even that great of a game room. It just feels like this really cool hangout space that you can go and do all these different things. And this is a game room that is very, very unique to this property. As you can see, it's not a really amazing property, right? But this game room, I'm not kidding you, has helped them be at the top of the market in this area when cabins tend to do better in this area. And so the clean listing, the good photos, all that stuff is great. But what really helped boost their revenue is the immersive game room. I find that stuff absolutely fascinating. Now, here's another example that I want to get into. It's a property out in Gatlinburg, which is one of the most competitive markets in the entire country. And everybody is trying to do their absolute best out there, right? And this property has no views and does not have a pool, which have become some of the most important things you could possibly have in Gatlinburg. And yet this property is making over $158,000 a year. How did they do that, right? As you can see, with just this one photo alone, we have this beautiful fire pit set up. We also have these hanging lights that have been edited to be more bright. This is a twilight photo. Twilight photos go a really long way. We can clearly see that the deck is really nice set up. They have all the lights on inside. Just from this one photo, you're already pulled into this property, right? And then you have this next photo, great game room, very large, but right here is where they hit it out of the park, adding in a mini putt to this property when they have flat land, because almost nobody else has flat land. And so they took this flat land in this area and took full advantage of it. But what's so smart about this is they knew who their demographic was, right? They know that it's families that are going to be staying at these properties. And so they wanted to find an amenity that was going to appeal the most to that age demographic of those families that would want to book and stay at their home. And so they gave people this alternative option to have one of the cooler experiences for younger kids at their cabin, even though they didn't have the views or a pool. And even this little train back here, which I want to get to because I love it so much. This little train is so strategic because it actually focuses on younger kids. It focuses on the youth. It focuses on kids that would be anywhere from, let's say, 2 to 5. They're going to find this little unique amenity so appealing, and the parents are going to love to take photos of their kid on this amenity, right? It's so simple, but it's so smart. And the thing is it drives so much revenue and makes you so much more money. And so if you can understand these little things and you learn these little things, you end up making more money. I do this all day, every day. That's all I do is study this data. And so I just have so much knowledge on how to make more money off your Airbnb. And I hope that I can teach you this information, right? All right, now let's get into how do we actually do this process to be able to figure out what are the best things to put your money towards to be able to increase your revenue. There's a lot of things that are going to be easy to see, and then there's going to be a lot of stuff that's hard to see, okay? But with this process, I feel like I've kind of figured out a way to make it really simple. I hope it becomes very simple. Regardless, this is what we want to do. I want you to get the data onto a spreadsheet. So as you can see here, I have the data that's on a spreadsheet. And whether you got to extract it out of AirDNA or get a profit map from me or work with one of the other data providers, whatever it is, okay? Get that data onto a spreadsheet. Then what you want to do is you want to start tracking the things that the scraped data cannot track. So as you can see here, I have a list of different things that I have tracked. And I've done this because I wanted to figure out how important they were within that market for driving revenue. So as an example, I manually recorded if the property I was looking at was a log cabin, if it had views, and if it did have views, what level of views, if it had a deck, if it had a sunroom, a fire pit, or a game room, right? And you can add whatever you want into this column. You just go into your market, take a look at the properties within your market, right? And then try to understand what features are showing up the most, and you want to see, do those features matter or not, right? And so some examples, if it's all by the beach, do you need to be on the beach or can you be a block away from the beach? Do you need to have a pool? Do you need to have a game room? What kind of style do you need inside of that Airbnb? Do you see a certain style that's popping up over and over again? These are some of the things that you could manually track across all these different listings. And then what you want to be able to do is figure out if the majority of people have these amenities or not, right? You want to figure out, do I need to have this amenity, or is it just a nice to have amenity, right? And so, as an example, what we did here was we reviewed all of the game rooms for this market. And what I want to mention is the market I'm showing you right now is a mountain market. And typically in a mountain market, the most important things are fire pits and hot tubs, right? And that's one of the things I wanted to try and figure out. However, I also was recording a lot of other things, such as the game rooms, right? So in the game, do game rooms matter is what I want to try and figure out. We had 23 listings that we reviewed. 15 of them had game rooms. So 65%, the majority had game rooms, which at this point you could look at and go, okay, I need a game room, right? However, if you look over here, we have all the data, and this is in order between who's making the most and who's making the least. So each one of these lines is an Airbnb, and these are all the top performers, and these are all the low performers. And as you can see is that the vast majority of the top performing properties all had game rooms. And so then therefore, a game room was very important to have to be able to be a top performing property. That was a really big, useful insight. It may be common knowledge, but now we have facts, and we use the data to be able to get those facts, which is the best. Obviously, I love it more than anything, right? Then what we did was we looked into the fire pits. And with the fire pits, we actually found out that only 34% of people had fire pits, and the vast majority of the top performers didn't have a fire pit. Therefore, in this mountain market, we didn't need to have a fire pit to be a top performer, which was a great insight and saved us a bunch of money that we could then allocate to potentially the game room, right? And then we have hot tubs, and the hot tubs actually landed dead in the middle at 52%. Half had them, half didn't. But if you look at all the top performers, once again, what you'll see is that the vast majority do not have a hot tub. Therefore, we did not need a hot tub in this market to be a top performer. And so we could take that money and allocate it to the game room as well, which I find to be so intriguing and so cool that we can very easily be able to figure out where we should be putting our money based off of this simple little process, right? Now, of course, there's way more to it, right? It's not just simply doing this analysis of should I get a game room or not? Because once you know you need a game room, what are you supposed to put in that game room? What should it look like? What games should you actually add to that game room, right? That's where it starts to get a little bit more complicated, and the finer things get really, really confusing, okay? And my recommendation to that is to go to AirDNA or go to Airbnb's main website. Type in the city that you're looking into. And for this example, I'm using Austin, okay? Type in that main city. On AirDNA, what you could do is go to the active STRs, then go to this little section here and click revenue. And then now what you're seeing is you're seeing all of the Airbnbs in Austin in order from who's making the most to who's making the least. Make sure you're only reviewing the properties that are actually true good data. Watch my video about how to decipher good data from bad data on my YouTube channel, all right? Now, what you want to do is you want to look at these top performers and try to understand what they're doing well. So essentially, you would open up one of these listings, let's say this one as an example, which is in Austin, and you would take a look at all the minor things. Who is the demographic that they're trying to attract here, right? This property, by the way, is a top performing 3-bedroom in Austin. It doesn't even have a dining room, and it's performing extremely well in comparison to these larger properties. And so I would look at this property and try to study it and try to understand exactly who are they trying to attract, right? Who is their demographic? What have they done? Like this photo here with these hanging lights that they've set up. They have a hanging swing. They added a propane fire pit. They have these really nice chairs set up. All of these little things, I would think to myself, how can I replicate this? And what you're doing on top of that is you're looking specifically at the amenities that you know are the most important. So if you knew that a hot tub was the most important amenity to add within your area, you would go and look at all the top performers and see how they set up their hot tub. It's not just as simple as putting a hot tub down and then taking a photo of it with the cover on. That drives me insane. You've got to set it up in a way that makes it appealing, makes it sexy, right? Makes people want to book that place because they can see themselves sitting in that hot tub having an amazing time. And that's what we want to try and achieve. And so by looking at all these really great top performing listings and just reviewing them one after another, here's a perfect example of a sexy hot tub, right? That's what you want to do when you have a hot tub. Tiniest little touches. They have these little uplights, and then they added in these little candles in boxes. That's it. And they took a photo and they did a great job with it. That's what I'm talking about, people, right? Study stuff like that to understand what these tiny little differences that these top performing properties are doing, and make sure that you're studying the amenity that you know is the most important within your market. If you can do those two things, you're going to be able to figure out how to best allocate your dollars. Right? That's what we're trying to do. That's what we want to do. That's what I'm trying to help you do. All right. And now, what I've been waiting this entire time to be able to tell you guys is about my new service called Air Optimization. Everything that I just showed you, I will do for you. Myself and my team will do all the work to figure out exactly how to boost your Airbnb revenue. We will go through that data to have the data tell us exactly what your property needs to increase the revenue. Let's say that you have about $10,000 that you want to put towards your property, and you're trying to figure out how do you best allocate those dollars. We will tell you exactly how to allocate those dollars. We'll use the data. Additionally, I have so much experience of studying these Airbnb listings that I'll try and provide as many examples as I can. I'll try and make sure that you can see what I see in my head and you can make that come to life. That's the goal. That's what I'm after. Obviously, the link to be able to get an air optimization is below this video. You can click it. You can go to my website as well. You're going to see it. It's going to look something like this here, and it's going to have all the information that you would need to know about an air optimization. If you decide to move forward with one, we're going to ask you to fill out this entire form, which is going to provide us with all of your property's information. We will then take it from there and review all of your data to make the most sense of it as we possibly can. And there you go, guys. That's everything for this video. I hope that you found it valuable. I always try to bring it on every single one of these videos so that you're not wasting your time. And I hope that you understand how important it is to make more than your set expenses, how to be able to do that with the data in a very systematic process. And if you're interested, Air Optimization is now a service that is available that you can get to increase your revenue. Enjoy, guys. See you in the next one.